So we have about 45 officers in our village. My security is warranted due to the fact of threats and things of that nature.
A close aide to Mayor Tiffany Henyard is cooperating with her opponents, and the mayor has now been stripped of at least some power in the form of access to village money.
I've never seen any municipality have so many credit cards out there. Orders going out to each is mind-boggling.
Tiffany Henyard's once unquestioned reign over Dalton is rapidly unraveling as years of alleged financial misconduct, misuse of public funds, and corrupt practices come to light. Once a figure of near absolute control in the community, Henyard now faces a growing wave of scrutiny and accountability for actions that critics say have plunged the village into debt while lining her own pockets at taxpayers' expense. The empire she carefully built through manipulation and unchecked authority is now teetering on the edge of collapse. Leading the charge against Henyard is a former ally turned whistleblower, her own ex-police chief. Once a trusted confidant who worked closely with her, the former chief has now provided critical evidence that threatens to dismantle Henyard's corrupt operations. This betrayal from within her inner circle is emblematic of a broader shift, as the community and other former supporters begin to see through the web of deceit she has spun for years. The walls of Henyard's administration are closing in, and it has become increasingly clear that her days of unchecked power are numbered. In a dramatic turn of events, former Deputy Police Chief Lacy, who was once one of Henyard's staunchest allies, is now embroiled in his own legal troubles. Lacy has been indicted on multiple federal charges, including corruption, fraud, making false statements, and perjury. According to the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Illinois, Lacy allegedly attempted to conceal assets and income to evade creditors and settle a lawsuit. The indictment reveals an elaborate scheme in which Lacy even fabricated a separation from his spouse to mislead authorities. For years, Henyard reportedly shielded Lacy from scrutiny, using her power to protect him from consequences that might have otherwise surfaced. This close alliance now threatens to drag Henyard deeper into the growing scandal. Allegations suggest that Henyard actively supported Lacy as he engaged in illegal activities, further entwining her with his misconduct. Their shared interests and mutual protection went largely unnoticed for a long time. But with Lacy's legal battles now in full swing, the cracks in Henyard's empire are becoming impossible to ignore. Meanwhile, the FBI's investigation into Henyard's administration is intensifying. Allegations against her include the weaponization of police raids and the extravagant misuse of taxpayer funds for personal luxuries. Reports claim she used public money to finance lavish trips to Las Vegas, among other questionable expenditures. While Henyard once maintained a tight grip on power by keeping these activities hidden, the tide has turned. Public pressure and mounting evidence are eroding her once formidable control over the narrative. The pressure on Henyard has only grown as Lacy's indictment exposes the inner workings of a corrupt network. Federal investigators are uncovering a complex web of financial manipulation, deceit, and political favors designed to protect Henyard and her allies from accountability. What was once a tightly controlled administration is now unraveling in the public eye as former allies come forward with testimony against her. The investigation has already revealed misappropriated funds, acts of coercion, and illegal dealings that threaten to implicate Henyard further. The indictment against Lacy has added fuel to the fire, shedding light on the dark underbelly of Henyard's administration. His legal troubles have dragged her name into deeper disrepute, and his downfall is likely to expose even more of her alleged misconduct. As federal charges mount, the community's calls for accountability have grown louder. Henyard's once loyal supporters are abandoning her, and the village of Dalton is finally confronting the full extent of her actions. The investigation continues to uncover a trail of betrayal, exploitation, and financial mismanagement that has left Dalton in disarray. The carefully constructed empire Henyard built through lies and manipulation is collapsing under the weight of her own corruption. With every new revelation, the community grows more determined to reclaim its future from her grasp. Tiffany Henyard's fall from grace is now inevitable. The truth about her administration's actions is coming to light, and her time in power is rapidly drawing to a close. The community she once controlled is on the brink of reclaiming its autonomy, leaving Henyard's legacy as a cautionary tale of unchecked power and its ultimate consequences.
Tiffany Henyard to be indicted on federal bankruptcy fraud, and the lawyer tonight for Deputy Chief Lacy tells me this is all part of prosecutor strategy to get.
The situation in Dalton, Illinois has reached a critical boiling point, with scandal and corruption consuming the highest levels of local government. At the center of this growing controversy are Mayor Tiffany Henyard and former Dalton Police Department head Lacy. Both are embroiled in allegations of financial misconduct and criminal activity, which have become the focus of an expansive investigation. Despite Henyard's efforts to shield Lacy from legal consequences and distract from the mounting evidence against her administration, the reality of Dalton's financial and legal crises is rapidly unraveling. Lacy's legal team has attempted to portray the charges against him as part of a broader conspiracy, suggesting that federal authorities are using him as a pawn to undermine Mayor Henyard's authority. His attorneys claim the federal investigation is politically motivated, designed to damage Henyard's reputation by casting doubt on Lacy's character. However, this defense is unlikely to withstand scrutiny, given the severity of the charges against him. Lacy faces up to 45 years in prison on counts of corruption, fraud, and perjury. Lacy's financial troubles date back several years, thrusting him into the spotlight. In 2019, he filed for bankruptcy after failing to pay $43,000 of a $55,000 settlement in a lawsuit. His financial difficulties deepened in 2020 when he filed a second bankruptcy petition. Investigations have revealed that Lacy made false and fraudulent statements in his bankruptcy filings, including underreporting his income and failing to disclose bank accounts under his control. He also falsely claimed to be separated from his spouse, asserting that she neither lived with him nor contributed to his financial obligations. These claims have since been proven untrue. As the scandal surrounding Lacy grows, Henyard has come under intense scrutiny for her actions in protecting him from further consequences. After Lacy was terminated from his position as head of the Dalton Police Department due to frequent absences, Henyard controversially reinstated him without consulting the village trustees. This decision sparked outrage among trustees who deemed the appointment illegal and questionable. They argue that Henyard bypassed proper procedures and have sought legal counsel to address what they see as an abuse of power by the embattled mayor. Dalton's financial troubles further highlight the extent of mismanagement within Henyard's administration. The village's general fund is burdened with a staggering $3.65 million deficit, and no annual report or audit has been produced since 2021. Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, tasked with investigating Dalton's financial crisis, uncovered alarming findings. According to Lightfoot's initial report, the village approved $6 million worth of checks across 589 separate payments, yet these checks were never sent to vendors. Additionally, police expenditures have surged, with overtime pay for 2 officers, including Lacy, exceeding their regular salaries. The financial crisis has forced the village to lay off 8 employees and impose a hiring freeze, even as it struggles to address its mounting debt and financial irregularities. Lightfoot's investigation is ongoing and is expected to conclude within 60 days. In the meantime, the village trustees have overridden Henyard's veto to ensure an independent probe into the corruption plaguing Dalton's government continues. This represents another significant blow to Henyard's already fragile hold on power, as her administration faces mounting pressure from both local and state officials. The Illinois State Comptroller's Office, led by Susana Mendoza, has suspended critical funding to Dalton due to its failure to submit essential financial records over the past 2 years. This non-compliance has left Dalton vulnerable to severe penalties. The village has not submitted required reports, including tax increment financing records and general audits. As a result, the Comptroller's Office has halted offset fund payments, which Dalton relies on during financial hardships. Last year, Dalton received $120,000 in offset payments and was set to receive $135,000 this year, but this funding is now at risk. Mendoza has warned that continued non-compliance could result in forced audits and fines, with penalties potentially reaching $7,000 per unfiled report. This could mean an additional $78,500 in penalties for Dalton, a devastating blow to an already struggling village. Amid these challenges, former village administrator Keith Freeman has come under scrutiny for his role in hindering audits over the past 2 years. Freeman, who was allegedly removed as Dalton's Freedom of Information Act FOIA officer without proper board approval, is now cooperating with the ongoing investigation. Freeman's financial dealings are also under review, with allegations that he underreported income and concealed assets. His fallout with Henyard, which led to his replacement by Lacy, has motivated Freeman to provide damning evidence against the mayor. His cooperation could further expose the alleged financial and administrative misconduct that has become synonymous with Henyard's administration. The investigations into Henyard's leadership have now drawn in federal, state, and local authorities. The legal and political drama surrounding Dalton's government grows more complex by the day, with Henyard's administration facing threats from multiple investigations and mounting scrutiny from all sides. The web of corruption, financial mismanagement, and political maneuvering has become inextricably tangled, leaving Henyard's leadership on the verge of collapse. Henyard's attempts to shield Lacy from legal consequences, coupled with her controversial decision-making and mismanagement of Dalton's finances, have only served to erode her authority and raise serious questions about her leadership capabilities. Dalton's finances, once precarious, are now in freefall, and Henyard's grip on power is slipping as officials at all levels demand accountability. The unfolding crisis in Dalton serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of unchecked corruption and financial mismanagement. It will likely stand as a cautionary tale for other local governments in Illinois and beyond. As the investigations progress and legal battles continue, it remains to be seen whether Henyard's reign will end in disgrace or if she can somehow weather the storm. One thing is certain: Dalton's future hangs in the balance, and the coming months will be pivotal in determining whether the village can recover from the scandal and mismanagement that have brought it to the brink of collapse. The fallout from these events will undoubtedly have long-lasting implications for Dalton, its residents, and the region's political landscape.
Well, he's out when she says he's out.
How is he putting you at risk?
You didn't answer that.
Is it that there's speculation that prosecutors are putting pressure on him to cooperate with their investigation?
Mayor Tiffany Henyard's leadership in Dalton, Illinois, has been the subject of significant controversy and criticism. Her tenure has sparked intense debate, especially regarding her lavish spending habits and heightened security measures. Public scrutiny has grown, making it increasingly difficult to understand how the situation has spiraled so drastically in a community already grappling with financial instability. The mayor's extravagant expenditures, particularly on personal security, have raised eyebrows, especially in a small town where previous mayors did not require such measures. In most small towns, mayors typically engage directly with residents, walking freely around town and remaining approachable. This level of accessibility is often seen as a hallmark of effective local leadership. However, Mayor Henyard's reliance on heightened security starkly contrasts with this tradition. Many residents and observers have expressed concerns, suggesting that such measures are often indicative of leaders seeking to shield themselves from the public they serve. Questions have been raised about why a leader in a financially struggling community would require such extensive security, especially when the town is already facing severe financial challenges. Dalton's financial struggles are indeed severe, with the village drowning in debt. Despite this, Mayor Henyard reportedly earns an annual salary of $300,000, an amount exceeding that of the Illinois governor. Her substantial salary has drawn significant attention, particularly as the community grapples with limited resources and opportunities. Many residents view her lifestyle as extravagant and out of touch with the needs of the people she is supposed to represent. This growing disconnect has become a source of frustration and tension among Dalton's residents. To understand how Dalton arrived at this point, it is important to examine the circumstances surrounding Mayor Henyard's rise to power. Her path to the mayor's office was unconventional. Unlike many officials who ascend through direct elections, Henyard was appointed to the position following the death of the previous mayor, Frank Zuccarelli. According to state election laws, the Thornton Township Board had 60 days to appoint a replacement to complete Zuccarelli's term. However, the appointment process quickly became contentious, with the Board of Trustees struggling to agree on a successor. Several qualified candidates were initially considered for the position. Trustee Joyce Washington, who had served as interim supervisor and had extensive local government experience, was a leading contender. Trustee Jerry Jones, another respected community figure, and Cassandra Alston, the Thornton Township assessor, were also considered strong candidates. However, disagreements among board members prevented a consensus from being reached. Amid this division, Tiffany Henyard's name was unexpectedly introduced into the conversation. Trustee Christopher Gonzalez made a motion to nominate Henyard for the position, catching many by surprise as she had not been a prominent figure in prior discussions. It later emerged that Henyard had been eyeing the position for some time, with ambitions to become mayor even before the vacancy arose. Her nomination was not as spontaneous as it seemed, but rather a calculated move born out of political necessity. As the board faced an impending deadline to appoint a new mayor, tensions escalated. Gonzalez argued that a decision needed to be made swiftly to avoid leaving the position vacant. His urgency, coupled with the board's inability to agree on another candidate, led to Henyard's nomination. The vote occurred just before the midnight deadline, and Henyard was officially sworn in as mayor. While her appointment broke the board's deadlock, the process raised questions among political observers about its legitimacy and transparency. Since taking office, Mayor Henyard's leadership has been marked by ongoing controversy. Accusations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and a growing disconnect from the community have plagued her tenure. Critics question whether she was truly the best candidate for the role or if her appointment was merely a desperate political maneuver. In the months following her appointment, Henyard has faced increasing criticism for her handling of Dalton's financial troubles. Reports have highlighted her extravagant spending, including significant expenses on security, travel, and personal luxuries, even as the community struggles with budget deficits and rising unemployment. Many residents feel that their mayor is out of touch with their daily struggles, further deepening frustration and resentment. This discontent has manifested in protests and calls for accountability. Critics have pointed to Henyard's lack of transparency and continued mismanagement of public funds as critical issues requiring immediate attention. The public's trust in her leadership is eroding, and doubts about her ability to effectively govern Dalton are mounting. Despite these challenges, Mayor Henyard remains in power, drawing a substantial salary while overseeing a village deeply in debt. Her rise to power and subsequent actions as mayor will likely remain points of contention for years to come. Whether she can turn Dalton's fortunes around, or whether her leadership will be remembered as an example of political dysfunction and financial mismanagement, remains uncertain. What is clear is that Dalton's future hangs in the balance, and questions surrounding Henyard's leadership are unlikely to fade anytime soon.
The Thornton Township Supervisor, how do you feel right now?
Oh man, I'm overjoyed. Didn't see it coming. I love it. That means that I am truly blessed and everyone loves me.
The situation in Dalton has sparked outrage among the community, with many residents expressing growing frustration over the actions of the local Board of Trustees. A significant part of the controversy stems from the appointment of Tiffany Henyard as the new mayor, a decision that many believe was driven by a hidden agenda. Residents of Dalton feel increasingly disillusioned as they believe the board deliberately bypassed the community's input, pushing through the decision despite the foreseeable consequences. Trustee Christopher Gonzalez's hasty nomination of Henyard has reverberated across the town, creating far-reaching effects that continue to unfold. Henyard's first meeting as mayor was seemingly unremarkable. She began her tenure with a speech expressing gratitude to the Board of Trustees, the town clerk, and the entire staff. In her remarks, she thanked them for entrusting her with the responsibility to lead the community and promised to follow in the footsteps of the late mayor Frank Zuccarelli. Henyard's words struck a familiar tone as she reassured everyone that she would focus on a responsible fiscal year, always keeping the needs of the people at the forefront of her agenda. She also reminded the audience that she was a public servant committed to working hard and ensuring the town's progress. However, as Henyard's time in office went on, it became increasingly difficult for the public to believe in her rhetoric. The promises she made during her speech began to ring hollow, especially as a brewing scandal surrounding her leadership came to light. Allegations of corruption started to surface, fueling anger and dissatisfaction among residents. One particularly upset resident voiced their frustration, highlighting the struggles of senior citizens in the community who were finding it increasingly difficult to afford basic necessities. The resident attributed the worsening situation to Henyard's alleged misuse of taxpayer funds. "I'm devastated that this woman came into our town and spent all of our tax money," the resident lamented. "This is a clear example of her corruption." Other residents echoed these sentiments, calling for Henyard to be held accountable for her actions. "She needs to be locked up. She needs to be made an example of," one person insisted. "She can't just keep using our money however she wants. This job comes with a cash register." The growing resentment toward Dalton's leadership led many to believe that Henyard's downfall was inevitable. They felt betrayed by her leadership and frustrated by the apparent lack of accountability for her actions. The situation escalated further when reports surfaced that federal investigators had begun looking into Henyard's alleged misuse of taxpayer dollars. Concerned citizens claimed to have been in contact with federal agents, providing them with documentation and evidence of financial mismanagement. The allegations primarily focused on Henyard's extravagant spending on out-of-town trips, as well as questionable overtime payments to police officers. The mounting accusations, coupled with growing public anger, have created an atmosphere of distrust and discontent in Dalton. Many residents hope that the investigation will lead to accountability and justice, while others fear that the damage done to the community may take years to repair. Regardless of the outcome, the controversy surrounding Mayor Henyard's leadership has left a lasting impact on Dalton, underscoring the need for greater transparency and responsible governance in the town's future.